So why do women have periods? You'd think that's a pretty simple question, right? But the answer? Well, it's actually this incredible story of conflict, of defense, all playing out inside the human body.
I mean, right off the bat, this whole thing is a huge evolutionary puzzle. It seems to break all the rules. Think about it. Why would any creature evolve a process that just throws away valuable nutrients every single month? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, does it?
And let me tell you, the answer is not some boring biology lesson. No way. This is a high-stakes drama. It's an internal battle for survival that has fundamentally shaped who we are as a species.
Okay, so to really get this story, first we've got to wrap our heads around just how weird this whole process really is. Let's dive into the mystery. Okay, get this. Out of the thousands upon thousands of mammal species on our planet, this is pretty much the entire list of those that menstruate. You've got humans, our close cousins like apes and monkeys, a few species of bats, and maybe elephant shrews. That is it. We are talking about a seriously exclusive club here.
And it's not just that it's super rare, it's also really costly. I mean, from a purely biological point of view, it just looks like a huge waste of energy and nutrients. So that's the big question, right? Why would evolution ever favor something so seemingly inefficient, especially in us?
Well, the first big clue starts to unravel when we look at pregnancy itself. And, it turns out it's not quite the cooperative partnership we all think it is.
Yeah, we have this image of pregnancy as this beautiful, harmonious thing. And it is. But that's really only half the story. The other half, it's a hidden biological battle over resources.
What's really going on here, at the very core, is a genetic conflict. The mother's body is playing the long game. It wants to save resources, to be able to have more children in the future. But the fetus? It's all about the here and now. Driven by genes from the father, its one and only goal is to grab every possible resource to make sure it survives.
It's been called a biological tug-of-war that plays out inside the womb, and that's exactly what it is. You've got two completely different genetic game plans pulling in opposite directions, and the mother's body, that's the battlefield. And this tug-of-war, it's not just some clever metaphor. It gets very, very real. It leads to something that scientists actually call the fetal invasion.
So what's the fetus's main weapon in this fight? It's the placenta. Now, in most other mammals, the placenta and the mother's blood supply are kept separate. There's a barrier. This means the mother stays in control. But in humans? Oh no, it's a whole different ballgame.
In us, the process is, well, it's way more aggressive. After an embryo implants, the placenta that forms doesn't just sit there. It literally invades. It burrows in and taps right into the mother's arteries. This gives the fetus a direct, open pipeline to the mother's bloodstream, completely bypassing all of her carefully built control systems.
And with that direct line, the fetus can start pulling the strings. It starts pumping out its own hormones that can jack up the mother's blood sugar, widen her arteries, even raise her blood pressure. It's doing whatever it can to get more food.
Now, this takeover by the fetus, it comes with some really serious risks for the mother. We're talking about everything from that intense fatigue you hear about to high blood pressure, gestational diabetes, and even incredibly dangerous, life-threatening conditions like preeclampsia.
Okay, so faced with all these risks, what does the mother's body do? Well, evolution is pretty smart. It developed a powerful defense mechanism. You could call it the womb's toughest test.
Because think about it, committing to a pregnancy is a massive investment for the body, and as we've seen, it can be dangerous. So it makes perfect evolutionary sense for the body to be extremely picky about which embryos get to implant and take over. You need a really, really tough screening process.
And that screening mechanism, that's the endometrium, the lining of the uterus. We tend to think of it as this soft, welcoming nest, right? But it's actually more like a bouncer at the world's most exclusive nightclub. It has evolved to be thick and really hard to get into. It's a test, and only the absolute strongest, healthiest embryos can pass.
And this whole situation created a kind of evolutionary arms race. As the mother's uterine lining got tougher and more selective, it basically forced embryos to become even more aggressive to get in. And that feedback loop is the reason human pregnancy is so incredibly invasive compared to other animals.
All right, so all of this brings us right to the final piece of the puzzle. We've talked about the conflict, we've seen the invasion, we understand the defense. Now let's connect all the dots and see how this leads back to where we started.
So what happens to all those embryos that don't pass the test? The ones that just don't make the cut? What if one attaches, but it isn't healthy enough to develop?
Well, having a non-viable embryo just hanging around in the womb is a really big problem. It's a huge threat. It could lead to a nasty infection. It could mess with the body's hormones. It has to go.
And the body's solution to this problem is, well, it's pretty radical, but it's also incredibly effective. It's a complete, total reset, a clean slate. It just clears out the entire system, every single month, like clockwork.
And that is what menstruation is. It's not a waste at all. It's a proactive, protective defense. By shedding that entire uterine lining, the body makes sure it gets rid of any unfertilized eggs or, crucially, any unhealthy embryos that fail to test. It's preventing the very real dangers of a failed pregnancy before it can even start.
So, when you think about it, is it really just a monthly inconvenience? Or is it something more? Is it maybe one of our species' most powerful, hidden evolutionary advantages? A brilliant protective strategy that actually helped us survive and thrive?